Do not tempt God. All of you have heard this phrase at least once in our lives, maybe from a preacher, an elder, or if we come from a Christian family, from our parents. But what does it really mean to tempt God? First of all, we need to understand that there is not just one way to tempt God, there is at least three. Let's think about them together. When I tell you do not tempt God, what come to your mind? Most likely, the first thing you think of is the people of Israel in the wilderness. And yes, this is the first way we can tempt God. Witnessing God's power and love in our life and then choosing to doubt Him anyway. This is exactly what Israel did. The Israelites had seen God strike Egypt with the 10 plagues. They had witnessed his extraordinary power, bringing the greatest nation of that time to its knees and humiliating the gods of Egypt. But they had also experienced his love and care because they themselves were spared from those judgments. Then, after Pharaoh allowed them to leave Egypt but pursued them with his army, God opened the Red Sea before them and they crossed on dry ground. In all these events, Israel saw the hand of the Almighty at work and His loving care, yet in the wilderness they continued to tempt Him. Immediately after crossing the Red Sea in Exodus 15, the people arrived at Mara. There was not drinkable water, and instead of asking the Lord for help, they complained. God showed Moses a wood to cast in the water, and the water became sweet. In Exodus 16, the people complain against Moses and Aaron, the servant of the Most High, because they lack food. They even said it would have been better to die in Egypt, where they had plenty to eat. The Lord answered that very evening they would eat meat, and the next morning they would be filled with bread. That evening God set a pile that covered the camp, and the following morning, when they awoke, the ground around them was covered with manna. God commanded them to gather only enough for each day and to collect twice as much on the sixth day, but to not gather any on the seventh day. Yet, even then, Israel disobeyed by gathering more that they need, trying to store it, or going out to collect manna on the seventh day. In Exodus 70, the people once again complained against Moses and Aaron because they had no water, and once again the Lord intervened and gave them abundant water. In Numbers 11, they complained again because they wanted meat. They remembered with lacking the food they had eaten in Egypt, but forgot the slavery they had been delivered from. And God again gave them meat in abundance. Although true, He also disciplined them. When in Numbers 20, the people rose up once more against Moses and Aaron, because there was no water, and once again God miraculously provided water from them. Notice something important. God never condemned their needs. He never told them to endure hunger or thirst or simply be satisfied with manna. What God condemned was their attitude, their complaining, their lack of faith, their continual rebellion, and their desire to return to Egypt, the very place from which He had delivered them. And if we are honest, we have often done the same thing. We have to seen God's power and love in our lives. We have witnessed miracles, we lived miracles, and God changed radically our lives. And when the situation seems hopeless, He will work on our behalf. Yet, at the first difficulty, at the first unexpected problem, we began to doubt, we rebel against God, we start longing for the very situation He had delivered us from, forgetting that we had once prayed to be set free. I've done the same. During the pandemic, after I lost my scholarship and had accumulated many debts, God gave me a job. I like working there, but I was never able to attend a church. Then God opened another door for me in a factory. For 6 months, they renew my contract 1 month at a time, and 1 month They didn't contact me about renewing it until the very last day. I start regretting leaving my previous job. I wonder whether they would hire me again or whether I will be able to find another job. I was afraid and began to doubt whether this factory job had truly come from God. I prayed and cried out to the Lord, and today, more than 4 years later, I'm still working in the same factory. What I want to tell you is this: do not lose heart during difficult time and do not tempt God. He has already provided for your life in the past and He will continue to provide. The second way we can tempt God is by knowing that something is in God's will yet choosing to fight against them. This is exactly what the Pharisees did. In Matthew chapter 60, verse 1 through 4, when the Pharisees and Sadducees come and testing him ask that he would show them a sign from heaven. He answered and said to them, when it is evening, you say, it will be fair weather, for the sky it's red, and in the morning it will be full weather today, for the sky it's red and threatening. Hypocrites, you know how to discern the face of the sky, but you cannot discern the signs of the times. A wicked and adulterous generation seek after a sign, and no sign shall be given to it except the sign on the prophet Jonah. And he left them and departed. Think about it, they had already seen Jesus heal sick, give sight to the blind, cast out demons, and preach with authority. Yet, after witnessing all of that, they still demanding another sign, not because they lack evidence, but because accepting that Jesus was doing the will of God will have required them to change their lives completely. They would have had to surrender their privilege, humble themselves, and begin serving others. Furthermore, at least the Pharisees already know that Jesus has been sent by God. In John chapter 3, verse 1 and 2, there was a man of the Pharisees named Nicodemus, a ruler of the Jews. This man came to Jesus by night and said to him, Rabbi, we know that you are a teacher come from God, for no one can do these signs that you do unless God is with him. Notice that Nicodemus did not say, I know. He said, we know. This suggests that at least some of the Pharisees recognized that Jesus had been sent by God, that he acted according to God's will, and that his teaching come from the Father. Yet they refused to give up their way of life. They were not looking for confirmation, they were looking for an excuse to reject Christ. And sometimes we act in the same way. We know what God is calling us to do, yet we come up with every possible excuse. I don't have time, I don't have the ability, I don't have a team to work with, I'm too young, I'm too inexperienced. Instead of sincerely asking whether something is God's will, we look for a reason to make us feel justified in disobeying Him. And finally, the third way we can tempt God is deliberately putting ourselves in dangerous situations, assuming that because God is faithful, He will rescue us. Matthew chapter 4, verse 5 to 7. When the devil took him up into the holy city, set him on the pinnacle of the temple, and said to him, If you are the Son of God, throw yourself down, for it is written, He shall give His angel charge over you, and in their hands they shall bear you up, lest you dash your foot against a stone. Jesus said to him, It is written again, You shall not tempt the Lord your God. Jesus was the Son of God, and His faith was perfect. He never doubted His Father, yet He also understood that He had to act wisely, not because God was unable to save Him, but because God called us to personal responsibility, not to reckless faith. Proverbs chapter 22, verse 3 and 4. A prudent man foresees evil and hides himself, but the simple pass on and are punished. By humility and the fear of the Lord are riches and honor and life. Whenever His hour has not yet come, Jesus withdrew from danger. Learn from him. He did not unnecessarily put himself in harm's way, thinking, God is my father, so he will save me. He acted with prudence, and when prudence was needed, and with courage when courage was required. God called you to avoid unnecessary danger unless He specifically called you into it. He called you to be wise and discerning. God has given you a spirit of wisdom, not of foolishness. He called you to responsibility. Deliberately putting yourself in dangerous situation is not faith, it's presumption, it's arrogance. Do not make impulsive decision expecting or demanding that God fix the consequence. If God has not called you to leave your job, do not quite thinking God will provide anyway. You may soon find yourself lacking daily bread. If God has not called you to a particular ministry or to a specific part of the world, do not go simply assuming you are doing His will. But if God does call you, then obey Him. When God's lead, He also gives clarity regarding His calling. His calling. In conclusion, do not thank God when the life becomes difficult. Remember that God remains faithful, and whenever He has promised, He will accomplish. Follow God's will even when it is difficult, even when it's hard, even when it requires giving up what is comfortable or appealing. Do not put yourself in danger because of your pride or because you want to prove your faith. Remember that Jesus was tempted in every way as we are, yet He never sinned, and in Him we are more than victorious.